What you're about to see from Donald Trump is both funny and scary. It's funny because the man who once said,
"I know words, I have the best word,"
flustered an MSNBC panel that tried to repeat his confusing comments, and scary because once his words were untangled, they revealed an ominous and dangerous warning for us all, and I have the breakdown for you next. The MSNBC roundtable was talking about the interview Trump did with Time magazine as a result of him being named Person of the Year. And yes, that's its own kind of funny, but it's not the funny thing I'm talking about. In just a minute, I will reveal what made co-host Elisa Menendez say, "I can't even read this, the syntax is so bad." But first, let's have a look at the ominous message for our democracy that attorney Mark Elias says Trump is signaling. Specifically, they were talking about the very mixed messages that Trump seems to be sending over the January 6th pardons that are coming on day one. Elias says there's a reason for that, and it includes the frightening phrase loyal militia. Have a listen.
Yeah, there has always been a fundamental incoherence to the right wing's explanations for January 6th, because it is simultaneously the fact that they say it was a peaceful protest of love, and that it was an orchestrated effort by by Antifa or the FBI or whoever to incite a riot. Right, like they kind of can't figure out which way they want to go with this. Whether there was in fact no riot and all the images you see are exaggerated or made up or AI or whatever, or that they're all real, but that these are all secretly instigated by the deep state and the like. And I think the reason why you have that incoherence is because at the end of the day, they're just trying to discredit the FBI. They want to allow the FBI to be taken over by the likes of Kash Patel, to become a politicization tool of Donald Trump. And what better way to do it than to cast broad, dark conspiracies about the FBI? And at the same time, they want to pardon these January 6th defendants. And so they need to cast them in a light of having done nothing wrong, right? So there is that fundamental incoherence that I think plays through much of what the right-wing media echo chamber said. Pardoning the January 6th defendants is about three things. Number one, it is about exonerating Donald Trump, because if, in fact, they did nothing wrong, he did nothing wrong. Right. Number two, it is about a permission structure moving forward about how they use the power of government, how they use the pardon power, how they use the FBI, how they use the Department of Justice. It normalizes the politicization of the government, of the tools of government power from the very beginning. And then number three, which is not something we hear widely talked about, but I want to put a marker down now. I also think that this is going to be the foundation of a new private militia organization. These January 6ers and their supporters are quite well organized, and I don't think it's well really understood in the mainstream and on the left that these folks are going to come out, I think, quite radicalized. A lot of them were violent, not all of them, but they will come out quite radicalized and very loyal to Donald Trump. And you oftentimes see in quasi-authoritarian leaders or regimes not just the misuse of government power, but the misuse of sort of private militia power.
And now for the moment when the flow of the conversation gets sideways because the future commander-in-chief doesn't have command over the English language.
So as I'm sure you saw, Mark, you had Trump talking to Time magazine about these pardons. Trump saying, "I'm going to do case by case. And if they were nonviolent, I think they've been greatly punished." And the answer is, I will be doing that. Yeah, I'm going to look if there's, I can't even read this. The syntax is so bad. But you get the idea, Mark. And the thing that we've always talked about is the fact that this is about a future permission structure, right? It's not just about punishment. It is about sending a message to people who would consider doing this again about what the consequences would be.
Yeah, first of all, I have to give Time credit for one thing, which is not cleaning up his syntax. You're exactly right. When you read the words uncleaned up, it's kind of incoherent.
Donald Trump is very unique because he sometimes sounds like such a buffoon, but don't let the appearance of buffoonery mask the calculated motives behind his rhetoric. Also, because Trump is such a volume creator of crazy talk that makes people scratch their heads, some of his darker signals fly under the radar, and I appreciate that Elias reminds us of the cunning man who is crazy like a fox, a fox that struggles with human syntax. Donald Trump's superpower is signaling. He signaled the base that racism is on the table when he entered politics with the Obama birth certificate dog whistle. He signaled the January 6 rioters, an event that resulted in 5 deaths, with, "If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore." And he continues to signal those who reside at the intersection of gullible and potential for violence, but he does it in a subtle way so one day if the shitstorm hits the fan, he has plausible deniability. It's the art of the Donald Trump crazy talk deal. And I will give the MSNBC panel the final word to connect the dots between the militia that will be lying in wait after the pardons and Trump's collection of extreme appointees. Watch and learn as the egomaniacal method to his madness is revealed.
He took the folks who viewed him over 14 years on television and turned them into the hardcore voters who stand by him. This act of January 6 pardons will do the same in creating, to your point, this sort of private army militia ready and waiting for the beck and call of Donald Trump.
That's right. And by, putting sycophants in positions of high power, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence, and you can go on and on, by stocking those people very explicitly with people who are loyal to him. I think that some have gotten this analysis wrong. They say, well, but there were other people who were loyal to him who he could have chosen who were more qualified. No. But that misses the point. He purposely wants everyone to know that the only qualification to run the people with badges and guns, the only qualification to run the people who control intelligence operations, the only qualification to run the military is loyalty to him. And he doesn't want there to be any confusion to that. And then, as you say, there will be this outside effort of people who are not part of other militia movements that have other agendas, but rather one that is focused solely on him. And it is that consolidation of all loyalty and power to him that I think is so dangerous. It is that consolidation of power only to him that, frankly, I think too many in the mainstream media are looking past in these discussions. But Donald Trump's not looking past it.